Hey guys, Rachel Brenke from TheLawTog, and I just wanted to talk to you real quick about contracts. I know that this can sound super scary or overwhelming for many of you, but that is what I'm here for. I'm the head attorney over here at TheLawTog, the legal resource for photographers. In fact, it's the only one, so it's the go-to. And just like you guys, I'm a photographer myself. I'm also a practicing attorney, and so I just wanted to give you a quick video on how to protect your boudoir photography business. The way I'm going to present it is going to be in this legal client timeline. From inception of when the client comes in the door with you, so how you get booked, how you're going to do that, what documents you need, all the way through the very end of the relationship to delivering of the products and fulfilling the entire responsibilities that you guys both have to one another. So as you're going to see, I'm going to talk about core essential products and like contracts I think you need to have in order to cover yourself. And then there's going to be some good to haves. And don't feel overwhelmed listening to this. You may not be ready to have all of them. Just let's start with these essentials, these core ones you need to have. This will be the foundation upon which everything else, including the relationship with your client, is built. These first two documents are the main boudoir photography contract. That is the one that creates the relationship between you, the photographer, and your client. It's going to regulate things like non-refundable payments, who's responsible for what, when the session's going to be, cancellations, reschedules, all that sort of stuff. This document is here to serve many purposes. It's not just to get you guys together as a legal client and photographer together, but it's going to do a couple other things. It's going to set expectations with your clients. They know what to expect from you, and you've told them what you expect from them. It's also going to provide a little bit of a backbone to you. So if you have any clients that are trying to like steamroll you over on your business policies and you need just a little support when you're not wanting to necessarily bend. It also can be used for customer service because the way that I have drafted the contracts here, it allows for you to waive any minor breaches that clients may have done in the interest of customer service without waiving the entire contract. As you see, that's where it comes in. I understand running a business. The majority of lawyers out there don't truly get that. Many of them haven't run a business, and many of them definitely haven't been a photographer. So all of this I contemplate in this main boudoir photography contract for you to have. It is non-negotiable that you have this document. The second essential document can be a little bit more negotiable, but I still think is pretty essential to your business. This is a model release. It is the client giving you, the photographer, permission to use their images in marketing. Probably thinking to yourself, okay, hold on. Those are my images, right? Because I'm retaining the copyright. You are correct. But when I say their images, I'm actually talking about this, their face. They have publicity rights that they have the right to, that nothing in the contract, the main contract we just talked about, until we get to the model release, nothing has done anything with their publicity rights. The reason you want to have a model release is twofold. One, you're getting permission for the use of their face in marketing so that you're not being in violation of their publicity rights because they are the holder of those rights. The second thing also is that it allows for waiving of compensation. What does this mean? It means that the client is giving up any potential claims of compensation for your use of their face in your marketing. Anytime you're going to use a photograph, please have a model release. That's why I say it's kind of non-negotiable, but I also do strongly recommend, especially in the field of boudoir photography, for you to consider the sensitive nature of the business. Some people are private, some have jobs that don't allow them to be online, or they just don't want to be seen in that way. Now, we totally get boudoir is empowering, but not everyone necessarily wants to have their empowerment public. Some may want to have it private. I'm of the camp that I'm okay with waiving the model release. I'm okay with not using images in marketing. Because for me, I would rather make a client happy. I would also rather get the referrals out of them as opposed to just having a couple to use on my website. Now, when I mention this, when I'm kind of offering up my opinion in the camp I'm in, you guys can choose to do what you want to do, whether or not you're going to allow clients to either decline a model release or use a limited model release, both of which I have included on this page for you. But something to consider with it too is that you may not necessarily be able to offer this to model call type clients. I am referring only to when you have a paid client who's coming to you. You may want to consider being able to waive the model release. Always have a contract to shoot. You don't always have to have a model release. The model release is only if you're going to want to use the images in marketing. This is social media. This is your website. This is anywhere. Cover yourself and have this document in place. So those are the two core documents that get you booked together. I recommend keeping them separate for best legal practices. Should ever one become invalidated, the whole thing does if they're all together. But if they're separate, you can nix one and still have one in place, right? Now, another thing to consider too, like we just talked about, if the clients don't necessarily want to have their images public, if you have the document separate, it's easy to throw out the model release and just keep the contract intact. Or if you are getting a model release from all your clients, having them separate also highlights the importance in that model release, the importance of the information. So hopefully that they're big boys and girls and they are reading it. So those are the two core documents that's going to get you guys booked. Then now we go along, we have this session, it's amazing, and now it's time to sell our products or services to them. And that can include a variety of things, albums, canvases, but very specifically, another document you need to have in place if you sell digital files is a print release. The term release is a little misnomer here because you're not really releasing any copyright, you're retaining copyright with the way that I write these documents. You, the photographer, are retaining the copyright to the images. What this really is a personal print license, not a commercial. I've got a commercial section for that. This is a personal print license that is giving the license, because you're the copyright holder. You have all these rights in your hands and you're giving one over, selling one to your client under this print release and giving them the restrictions and boundaries and the permissions to reproduce digital images however you outline and see fit. Really crucial to have this because you want to make sure that you're regulating your work that is going out into the world. And honestly, without it, the client really doesn't have permission to utilize the images. I know that's a little complex when we're talking about the publicity rights stuff, way more than we need to talk about here. There's a couple articles on the TheLawTog blog that you can check out for that. Another document that I want you guys to consider having, and this probably is not as integral to the boudoir type of photography, but it is worth noting here. It's called a permission to sell to a third party. I specifically have this broken out for multiple reasons. I found that by including this language to allow for you to sell to a third party, like a partner, husband, spouse, wife, whatever it is, that having that in the initial photography contract before you've really developed a rapport, before they've already gotten very vulnerable and intimate with you with your camera, oftentimes that was a big sticking point at the beginning of the relationship, and also for the legal practice reasons that I mentioned, having separate documents as well. I recommend having this permission to sell to a third party if you are approached by maybe a spouse who would like to purchase images for the client. Those are the sorts of situations. These also can be used in other types of photography like newborn, it could be grandmas, aunts, friends, weddings, it could be guests of the wedding or family members as well. So again, this is not an integral document, but you do need to have permission of the client because the client has hired you specifically, and it is where you guys are in privity together from that very main contract we talked about. Now, one of the last documents that is really good to have if you are, any of you actually, because hopefully you're selling something, is when you go to deliver the products to your client. I strongly recommend having a product delivery agreement. Don't get so tripped up on the terminology, what I just said. The entire premise of this document is so that they have attesting that the client has looked at the product, they've inspected it, and they're signing that you have fulfilled your responsibility, and they're happy with the products that they've received. This is especially important for selling digital files and high dollar cost of goods. Okay, so product delivery agreement, and that kind of ends the process. There's a couple other documents you guys can find over in the miscellaneous document section of the TheLawTog. They can kind of play into here, but I don't really want you to get too bogged down with that because the purpose of this page is to go over just the one linear client timeline. So with the photography contract and the model releases, print release, permission to sell to third party, and then the product delivery agreement kind of ended that timeline between you and the client. There's one other document worth noting here. It is not between you and the client. This is actually between you and a hair and makeup artist to outline and create that relationship. So you and your client over here, now it's you and this independent contractor that is going to be providing hair and makeup services for you. There's a lot of ways that you can provide hair and makeup to your clients. You can have the client hire them. You can hire this person as an employee. But what I'm talking about here is the hair and makeup artists that you hire as independent contractors who are not on payroll. They only work by the project. This document is to help to create that legal relationship between you and the hair and makeup artist for this project or you can add multiple projects on there as well. Just be careful you don't cross the line into acting like they're an employee. You want to try to keep them an independent contractor if that is your intention. This document walks through how they're going to get paid, when are they going to get paid, how much, what services they have to provide, and other legal miscellany that also provides a legal foundation to any contract. This also includes, circling back up to what we talked about before, the Boudoir photography contract also has this legal miscellany, or it should. And every time that I look at a contract and I want to know if a lawyer wrote it, I scroll exactly to the section of what I'm referring to with this legal miscellany. This talks about the legal foundation of should there ever be an issue with the contract, where is it going to be handled, what governing law is going to be in place to that, and all this other gobbledygook that you need to leave to me. But that's included in the Boudoir photography contract, and it's also going to be included here in the hair and makeup artist contract as well, just in case a dispute arises. Because you guys, you never have an issue till you have an issue. That's why I present all this to you, because I want you to keep your boudoir photography company and business and brand, and I want you to keep it as long as possible. If you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to reach out through the contact form to myself or my team. We'd be more than happy to help you figure out what you need. And best of luck, and remember, you never have an issue till you have an issue.